If you are a woman listening to me, I want you to pause for a moment and consider your last 24 hours. Meetings you attended, meals you prepared, tasks you checked off. But I want you to think about that invisible work that you've done. For example, maybe you noticed your partner being stressed and maybe you asked how they were doing. Did you remember to text your mom back? Did you manage a child's meltdown while trying to stay calm and contain your child's emotions? Maybe you smiled at a difficult customer or colleague, suppressing your frustration. Maybe you anticipated what others needed before they even asked. This is emotional labor. Chances are that you've been doing so much of it for so long that you don't even recognize it as work anymore. But your body does recognize. Your nervous system does recognize. And right now, millions of women are reaching for wine, food, phones, simply being exhausted at the end of the day, not because they're weak or undisciplined, but because they're running on empty from work that nobody taught them to recognize or account for. Today we're going to talk about why you are so tired, why it's absolutely not your fault, and what you can actually do about it. So first of all, part one, what is emotional labor? In 1983, a sociologist, her name is Arlie Russell Hochschild, published groundbreaking research that changed how we understand work forever. She studied flight attendants and bill collectors, and she discovered a form of labor that had been completely invisible in economic analysis, and she called it emotional labor. So here's her definition. Emotional labor is the process of managing your feelings and expressions to fulfill the emotional requirements of a job or role. It's work that requires you to produce a specific emotional state in yourself so that you can produce a specific emotional state in others. In simpler terms, emotional labor is when you have to make yourself feel a certain way so that others will also feel a certain way. And it's not occasional, you're required to do it. Hochschild identified three key characteristics of emotional labor. So first of all, it involves direct interaction with people. It's face-to-face or voice-to-voice contact with customers, clients, patients, students, family members, anyone who's receiving your care or your service. Second, you're required to produce an emotional state in another person. This is not just being polite, it's actively creating feelings in others, like safety, trust, compliance, happiness, you name it. The flight attendant must make passengers feel safe and cared for. The nurse must make patients feel reassured. The mother must make her child feel secure. Third, someone exercises control over your emotional activities. There are explicit or implicit rules about your emotional display, expectations that you will never show frustration regardless of how you're treated. Sounds familiar? Hochschild made a crucial distinction between two strategies people use to meet emotional labor demands. Surface acting. It's faking it, displaying the required emotion without actually feeling it. So you smile at a rude customer while internally you're feeling very angry. You say, I'm fine, when you are falling apart. You nod sympathetically at your teenager's drama, and inside you want to scream. Surface acting requires constant vigilance. You must monitor yourself continuously, making sure your real feelings don't leak through. Research shows that this form of emotional labor is particularly exhausting and it's associated with burnout. Then there's deep acting. It's more complex. This is when you actually work to feel the required emotion and not just display it. So, for example, you don't just smile at the difficult person, you actually try to feel compassion by imagining what they might be going through. You tell yourself stories that help you generate the feeling that you're supposed to have. Hochschild drew on method acting techniques to describe this. Workers become method actors in their own lives, using memories, imagination, reframing to genuinely create the feelings that they need to have. While deep acting feels more authentic and is less immediately exhausting than surface acting, Hochschild identified something darker. Like over time, it creates confusion about what you actually feel versus what you've trained yourself to feel. The boundary between your authentic self and your role begins to blur. Many women describe this experience like, I don't even know how I really feel anymore. I'm so used to managing everyone else's emotions that I've lost touch with my own. And now I just realized that this is happening to me as a therapist. So, emotional labor is not distributed equally. Women perform the vast majority of emotional labor in both paid work and unpaid life in our families, and it's not coincidental. Employees seek women for roles that require emotional labor because cultural expectations have trained women to be skilled at emotional management. And women are conditioned to believe that this work is our nature. Look at the jobs dominated by women: nursing, teaching, customer service, childcare, social work, therapy, hospitality. It all requires intensive emotional labor. And within these professions, women often handle the most emotionally demanding aspects, while men in the same field get assigned more technical or leadership roles. And beyond employment, women carry an enormous burden of unpaid emotional labor in families and relationships. Because you need to remember birthdays, organize celebrations, manage family relationships, social calendars, noticing, responding to others' emotional needs before they even express them, creating emotional atmosphere in the home, smoothing over conflicts, and managing difficult personalities, schedules, feelings, you performing the mental work of anticipating what everyone needs. This is what we do. And it's unrecognized by others. And often, the problem is that it's often unrecognized by us women. This is why we are exhausted when we have same jobs as our male partners and they seem fine. It's not that we're weaker, it's that we are doing two jobs: the visible job and the invisible emotional labor. So, what emotional labor does to you, me, to us? Hochschild's research documented serious consequences of sustained emotional labor. So, first of all, emotional exhaustion and burnout. Constantly managing emotions depletes us. Workers described feeling used up, empty, not themselves anymore. The smile that once came naturally required effort eventually, and that effort accumulated over time. Then people feel estrangement from their authentic feelings. And people engage in chronic emotional labor sometimes lose touch with their real emotions. They describe moments of confusion saying, am I actually happy to see this person, or am I just supposed to be? The boundary between genuine feeling and performed feeling becomes more and more blurred. This is what Hochschild called self-alienation. You become alienated from your own emotional life. You spend so much energy managing everyone else's feelings and suppressing your own that you genuinely don't know what you feel anymore. Emotional labor doesn't stay at work. Of course, people report difficulty turning off the emotional management when they go home. Some nurses find themselves in caregiver mode with family even when they are depleted. Teachers are having difficult time managing others' emotions during their off hours. There are health consequences. Research has linked high emotional labor to increased rates of depression, anxiety, cardiovascular problems, suppressed immune function, and chronic pain. The stress of maintaining emotional control takes a serious toll on your body. Your exhaustion is not in your head. It's real, it's legitimate, and it's a direct result of labor that most people can't even see and take it for granted. Now I want to connect emotional labor to something that I call energy mapping, because I realized that many women, especially intelligent, sensitive, responsible women, are not struggling with motivation, discipline, or bad habits. They're struggling because they don't know their own limits. And there's this problem that people rarely talk about. Like, think about what you were taught growing up. You were probably taught to manage time, taught to manage tasks, manage money. But I bet that almost no one taught you how to map your energy. If you had someone who did that, you're super lucky, because people rarely teach us to recognize our capacity limits. Or people rarely teach us when to stop. And if you grew up as a woman, you were likely taught the opposite, to keep going, to put the others first, to not be selfish, to push through, to not complain, and also to smile when it's difficult. It's especially true if you grew up being responsible early on, taking care of others, performing, surviving. If you were actively rewarded for pushing past your limits and ignoring your own needs. So, of course, you don't know where your breaking point is because no one ever asked you to find it. When you don't know your energy limits, you inevitably push yourself to zero. And when you hit zero, something has to give. Your zero is not what you think. Let me introduce this concept, your personal energy scale, from 0 to 100. 100 is when you feel alive, spacious, you feel regulated. For me, 100 was being on a boat. There was sunlight, water, no emotional labor, no urgency. But 0 is not what most people think. 0 is not sadness, it's not stress, and it is not anxiety. 0 is the moment when you want anesthesia, when wine, food, or social media scrolling, online shopping feel necessary, not optional, necessary. That moment is your nervous system sending you critical data. It says, I am completely out of capacity. What is crucial to understand? That your 0 is physiological, not only emotional. It's your body saying, I cannot process one more thing. I need this to stop right now. Recent neuroscience helps us understand what happens when we hit 0. There's this cumulative wear and tear on your body from chronic stress and constant adaptation. Your brain shifts into a self-protective mode that prioritizes immediate relief over long-term well-being. When your prefrontal cortex, the part that is responsible for planning, impulse control, decision-making, when it becomes depleted through sustained effort, activity in this region decreases while activity in your limbic system, emotional reward-seeking brain, increases. And that neurological shift makes you more vulnerable to immediate gratification, and you become less capable of considering long-term consequences. So it's not that you become weak or undisciplined, it's your brain is literally functioning differently when you are depleted. And then substance use appears. And here's what most people miss. Substances and compulsive behaviors are usually not the problem, they're the signal. They appear after you've already crossed your limit. Women come to me and say, I drink too much in the evenings. I am binge eating at night. I can't stop scrolling. I online shop all the time and I don't feel that I'm in control. But the truth is, if you only try to remove the behavior, but keep driving yourself to 0, then your nervous system will simply find another way to get that relief. This is why people quit drinking and then start overeating, or stop overeating and start exercising compulsively, or give up social media and then find themselves binge watching Netflix for hours. The real work is not abstinence from the behavior. The real work is learning where to stop before you are hitting 0, before you're completely depleted. Research on addiction shows that our brains respond to relief from discomfort. When you're depleted, any behavior that provides relief becomes neurologically reinforced. And research on addiction recovery shows that programs that incorporate stress management, emotion regulation, different lifestyle practices gives better outcomes. For example, people who developed what researchers called recovery capital, including self-regulation skills, sustainable routines, they had relapse rates like 30-40% lower than those who only stopped using substances. So when the underlying depletion pattern is addressed, the desperate need for numbing resolves on its own. Here's the single most important principle that I want to share with you. You do not stop at 0. You stop at 50-60% of your energy. Why? This changes everything. So if you stop at 0, then your recovery requires numbing or anesthesia. You reach for wine, food, screens, You need hours or days to feel yourself again. And you're cycling between depletion and emergency recovery. If you stop at like 50-60% of energy of your battery, recovery requires gentle movement, rest, tea, warmth, yoga, reading. You can restore yourself with simple, nourishing practices. You wake up the next day with actual capacity and you're living sustainably instead of this, crisis loop. I know it might feel impossible. I know what you're thinking. I can stop at 50. I have too much to do. My job requires more. My family needs me. Other people need me. Everyone needs me. So when you feel that you have too much to do, the truth is that your life genuinely requires you to operate at zero capacity continuously, and it's not sustainable. And when you recognize that, even if you can't change everything immediately, you start discovering that you have more micro choices than you initially thought. The question isn't whether you can eliminate all demands, it's whether you can find small decision points where you can stop earlier. When you feel that other people seem to manage more, you're comparing your internal experience to others' external presentation. You don't see their crashes, their medication, their therapy sessions. You don't see what happens with their nervous system. There's enormous variation in stress capacity. Your sustainable capacity is your sustainable capacity, and other people have their own. Don't compare yourself. Then when you feel that your family needs you, they need you functional. They probably are happier when you're not depleted. Kids benefit from parent who sets boundaries and is present than exhausted parent who does everything. And same applies to partners, aging parents, and others who you care about. You can't pour from an empty cup. And more importantly, when you keep pouring from an empty cup, eventually you break the cup. So what is energy mapping? It's not as a tool. It's not tracking your mood, it's mapping your capacity so you can make informed decisions about where to stop. So here's how you do it. Once a day, ask yourself 4 simple questions. Number 1, where is my energy now from 0 to 100? Just pick a number, no explanation needed, and don't overthink it. Your first instinct is usually right. Question 2, what did I do before it dropped? Work meetings, client calls, family management, decision making, scrolling, cooking, driving kids to school, or managing household, logistics. List the activities that happened before your number dropped. 3, when did I first notice depletion? Not 0, the first dip. Was it after the second meeting, after managing a conflict, after 3 hours of work, or maybe after your mom called? Number 4, did the thought of numbing appear? Yes or no? Did you think about wine, food, social media, shopping, any other way to escape? If yes, you crossed your limit. It is absolutely no shame. It is your information. So what do you need to do week by week? First of all, week 1, try baseline mapping. For 7 days, simply note your energy number 3 times daily. Morning, midday, evening. Don't try to change anything, just gather data. You want to see patterns. Most women discover patterns they never continuously noticed. Then week 2, identify your warning signs. Now that you have baseline data, start noticing the quality of different energy levels. What does 80 feel like in your body? What about 60, 40, 30? Most women discover physical markers they really did not attend to, like different breathing, special kind of mental fog, urge to cry or snap at people when you are closer to 20 or 10. Notice your patterns. Week 3, the pre-zero intervention. This week, your goal is to catch yourself once before you hit 0, just once. When you notice you are at 50, what's the smallest thing you could do? Like walk for 5 minutes or lie just on the floor with your legs up the wall, or close the door and take 5 slow breaths. Or drink a glass of water while looking at trees. You can step outside maybe, or you can put on a song that you love and move your body. The intervention doesn't have to be elaborate. You're practicing recognition and the pause. Week 4, try to do pattern interruption. You will see your personal depletion patterns clearly by week 4. And now you can start building preventive structure. Like, for instance, you can block recovery time in your calendar, just like meetings. Or you can set boundaries around certain types of interactions. Or you can build in transition time between high demand activities. Create prepared responses for requests that consistently drain you. Identify non-negotiable daily practices that restore your energy.